Good morning, wakey, wakey campers. The chickens are fed, yay. This one's a tough one. This devotion is a tough one. And as I was listening to the phone read it to me, I had a thought. Who apologizes more in the relationship? Who is the first one who is most often? And you don't have to say it because I'm not trying to pick a fight, but you know it, right? Just do a survey, do a mental inventory of the past week or the past 2 days, and who have you heard say, I'm sorry, my bad, my apologies, hey, that's on me. Who does that? Who comes to the table with that first in your relationship? My theory is some personality types are more rigid than others, and rigidity is not, I'm not saying it's an unhealthy thing. Rigidity is a very, I think, healthy thing. For example, in my vocabulary, perseverance is the same word as stubbornness. And so when we're talking about going the extra mile for an apology, what comes to my mind is in your relationship, of the two of you, which one is more rigid than the other? Which one is the one? That person may also be the greater keeper of the rules, yeah. So here's what I've, in my theory again, is in those personality types, the personality types that are more rigid, they're more they tend to see the world more concretely. If this, then that, absolutes, things like rules and time and deadlines and schedules and those hard, fast things that keep society in motion. Those things are, sacred to the one that is the more rigid personality type. So I don't want to go on and on about this, but I think in any healthy relationship, I think there has to be at least a learned balance, right? If I'm a natural bull in a china shop because, I like to drive and get things done and, push it down the road and crack the whip, so to speak, or whatever, if that's my personality type, then I have to learn to be more of a team player as I'm a team leader. And I have to learn to be not a bull in a china shop. I have to learn to be more sensitive to emotions and more sensitive to the feelings of others and more sensitive to, I drive a big truck. What if I drove like a bat out of hell in traffic, So I have to learn to, so all personality type, we can't hide behind our personality type. We can't hide behind, well, it's just the way that I am. Deal with it or hit the road, Jack, Like, we have to be more than that. That's what makes us different than any other, I think, living creature out there, is that we can learn to, we have this psychological self, we have the social psychological self, right? And so I think this idea of going the extra mile is, really tapping into that psychosocial self so that we can truly show up better for others. And when we show up better for others, consequently, we show up better for self. When we show up better for others, we always show up better for self, because it's not that we're less harsh, or it's not that we're less judging, and that's it in Myers-Briggs people. Judging, feeling, I think, are the two set on contrast to one another. Judging, feeling, judging, sensing, I forget. But anyway, those who are more judging, it's a more rigid, it's a much more concrete way. It's a much more definite, defined. These are the rules, live by them or else, kind of thing. And here's the thing. This is what you've watched this much of this video for. For those folks who live by that hard set of deadlines, that hard time keeping, that hard scheduling, for those folks who live by that, the thing about their truth, and this is why I theorize there's less apology from those folks, I theorize there's less apology from those folks because their truth to them is it. Like, it is definite, it is absolute, it is concrete, it is unyielding, unwavering, unbending. It is their truth. And because they know that others in the world aren't like them, they hold even more rigidly and more tightly to their, I'll finish that sentence. They hold more tightly, hold more of a firm grasp on their truth because they know others can be more loose with deadlines and timekeeping and schedules and things like that. So anyway, food for thought, not to pick a fight. The conversation will stir the pot, and if you have the conversation, go easy, right? Give each other some grace. I'll end with this. There are two very, very important thoughts for the person who is more rigid than others, who's more concrete, who holds more tightly to schedules and timekeeping and things like that than others. The two things that we have to do with the past: one, we have to be honest with the past. And rigid person, you have no problem being honest with the past. You can most definitely be honest with the past. Like, that is your superpower. You're judging, right? You're like, yes, this was it. But then the second part of that is forgiving. And when we look at the past, or when we look at even a present offense, even if it's us judging ourselves, reflecting on ourselves, we have to be forgiving of both ourselves and others, because until we're forgiving of ourselves and others, we can't be the person that's on the other side of the offense. Does that make sense? In order to be the person who's over it, we have to be over it, and we have to forgive it. And we have to, it doesn't mean we forget, it doesn't mean that we don't adapt and change, it doesn't mean that we don't learn from our mistakes, but it does mean that we move on from it, and it does mean that we let go of it. Conversely, and I will say this, conversely, the person who's not fast and more and abstract, and the person who doesn't have a tight grip of, schedules and timekeeping and calendars and rules, that person doesn't really have a hard time forgiving the past. They can forgive the past because, well, they break the rules all the time, according to some, right? So they live in either a constant state of shame and guilt and fear and depression, or they've learned long ago, I'm not perfect, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to have to practice forgiveness of at least myself, if not others as well. But that person, I would challenge you to be more honest with your past. How did my offense hurt someone? How did showing up late really mess with somebody's schedule? How am I disrespecting others even if I don't mean to? How am I offending even when I don't mean to offend? So anyway, I enjoy this thought about going the extra mile to forgive and to serve others in your life, especially that special someone that you're connected to. This is good.